Welcome back to the Dead End Restorations garage, guys. Super exciting day. This is the brand new present that I just got for this garage. Now, let's get some minions and open it up. Now, for the eagle-eyed viewers among you, you'll probably have figured out that this is a mid-rise scissor lift. And now I'm going to tell you why it is the most underrated car lift for small garages and the reason why I specifically bought it. Reason numero uno. My garage is a soul-crushing 9 feet 4 inches, or about 280 centimeters wide, which is kind of amazing and pathetic that I'm even restoring cars in such a tiny shack. But be that as it may, those are the cards that I was dealt. So, this lift doesn't have anything else going on around it. There's no posts, there's no other issues that are going to impede in whatever few centimeters I have left of breathing and walking room between the vehicle and the walls. That's the most important bit for me. Reason number two is, unlike those other scissor lifts that have kind of metal bracing and stuff here in the middle, this has a nice big open space down the middle. Therefore, if you want to take out a drive shaft, a diff, you want to work on the exhaust and take stuff out in the middle, you have a nice open entryway right down the middle. And reason number three, against a Quickjack or jack stands, this has the added benefit of going 100 centimeters in the air, or about 3.5 feet, and it makes for a good workout table too. Now, it is conceivable that worst case scenario, if you really needed to, you could drop an engine down here because there's enough space between these posts, and these ones can fold down depending on how long of a vehicle you're putting on here and whether or not you need the extra support. And lastly, the fourth reason why this is the most underrated car lift for small garages is it's actually quite cheap. This thing cost $2,500 Canadian, which is $1,700 US, give or take. I mean, a Quickjack system, the highest end model, is probably about $2,000 Canadian or $1,500 US. So for a few hundred extra dollars, you're easily getting 2.5 times the lift height. This is rated to 7,000 pounds as well. It's just fantastic value for the money. And if you needed to, there's some wheels that you can attach to the bottom of this thing, and I have moved it around to place it around in the garage, so you don't even need to bolt it down. So on paper, this looks like the perfect lift for this tiny ass garage. Now, let's talk about some of the cons. Con number one, as it states here, this requires 20 amps minimum, and therefore I had to route a new electrical wire in here. That made it a little bit more expensive and a little bit less user-friendly than if you could just plug this into a regular standard socket. Con number two, because the approach angle on these ramps is actually really steep, and then when you start driving up on it, it's actually quite the jump to get up there. I ended up building these ramps, as you can see, and then over here I placed some extra stones that I had at the very ends. And so what you do is you kind of drive the car up onto it and end over here. Now, for my E90 M3, which is slammed and lowered like a mofo, this is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, this thing is never going to be able to get off in the air. So this is a little bit tricky until you kind of get used to lining up the ramps and knowing how far to go and how to set it up. And the last con is, well, in as much as this is meant to accommodate pretty much any vehicle because you can extend these or lower them, the reality is not every single car has jacking points along this side. If you're talking about trucks that have ladder frames, for example, they'll often have narrow frames in the middle, and they may not have jacking points along these edges here. But again, for what you're paying and for what you're getting for this price in the limited square footage and width that I have here, this is the best option. Now comes the real test. Let's see if we can lift the car. All right, my blocks are in place. I put this bar here because I'm trying to lift by the frame rail and not over here by the jacking points. Let's see how this goes. All right, so now we are locked in, and as you can see, tons of room to work on down here. So if anything, my limiting factor is going to be my garage door opener and the garage itself. But I mean, have a look at the amount of room that you have to work on under here. It's just fabulous. For doing suspension work, engine work, again, it's never going to be a 2-post lift or even a 4-post lift necessarily, but for home use, this is fantastic. So there you have it. We got a new toy to play with in the garage. This thing is going to come in really, really handy when I'm doing engine work on the E90 M3. I got to do rod bearings. I got to have the car up in the air. We need more room to get around suspension and engine work. It's just way, way easier than crawling around on the floor when you've got, you know, 1.5 feet of room to work with. One of the things that I do need to dial in is just the pressure on the release valve when the car is going down. It just wants to dump the car far too quickly, but I can play around with that. Overall, though, I'd say I'm very, very happy with this product. I'll leave a link in the description below for those of you in Canada. This thing is sold by Capital Automotive Equipment. Realistically, it's just a generic Chinese brand that they slapped a sticker on. Pretty sure you can get this stuff on AliExpress or wherever you are in the States from a distributor. It's, you know, your run-of-the-mill mid-rise scissor lift from China. The last piece of news from me, this car is officially sold. And in a couple of days, I'm going to be delivering it to its lucky new owner. So look out for that episode. And then I'm going to do a full cost breakdown analysis of everything that it cost me to fix it and exactly how much I sold it for, so you guys know exactly how this build progressed and what you can expect if you want to do something similar. Hope you enjoyed the video. Ciao.